Alrighty, y'all. Welcome to the show. Today we are looking at something really, really cool because, for one, we're sticking to one of the most fascinating topics I've really enjoyed lately, and that is, of course, anything from the automotive brand Citroën. But this time, it's going to be really cool because we're combining that with old school videos, old school recordings, showing product showcases. I think those are always really fascinating. Old promo videos, old commercials. And well, this is about the famous suspension that we're learning about. That's arguably one of the best, most fascinating suspension systems in the world. So these videos are from predominantly the 70s and 80s. They feature multiple Citroën models, most of which I won't even know, other than the DS and the 2CV are the only ones I really know so far. And I think it's going to be a fun watch. We're going to skip around a little bit. So if you want to watch the whole video, and of course check out the channel this will be linked in the description down below. And it's literally from a channel called Dutch Citroën 2CV. And this was suggested to me on Discord, and I think throughout some comments as well. But I have the most recent suggestion from Lars Christensen on Discord. So thank you for that. Let's jump right into this. Here we go, guys. Look at that. Just glide over those. I mean, when you're on a test track, everything's kind of exaggerated, right? To really see what it can handle, to really see suspension go to work. And it seemed to be gliding over those big bumps. There's, of course, I believe, a DS. Look at that. Wow. Yeah, and this is fascinating, too. Like the 2CV, it rides, like, so softly, right? And then it turns, and you see it lean, almost, like, exaggerate, like in a video game or in a cartoon or something where the car's, like, really leaning. But it's stable. Don't let it fool you. It's not going to tip over. That's what I think is fascinating about it. Look at that. Wow. Even this one, I don't know what model it is, but look at that. Wow. Especially the quick transfers when you're leaning, then you quickly transfer the other way. So turn left to right really quick. You'd think that could really make a car either violently spin out or, even worse, flip it over. But this car is doing neither. It's kind of handling the transitions pretty smoothly. Oh, look at that thing go. That's a weird looking car.
And here is the result. Perfect holding, accurate steering, and a car that doesn't deviate by a millimeter from its course, with an immediate and accurate response to the slightest movement of the controls.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Adherence must be maintained under all circumstances, even over the most irregular of road surfaces, and none of these repeated impacts should be transmitted through to the occupants of the car.
So if you'll notice, like we look at this clip, the 2CV, I feel like it's easiest to see just because it has the small tires and, the body with a little bit of a gap there. So you can see as it's gliding across, these wheels are showing like all of the imperfections in this stretch of road, right? Of course, it's meant to be that way. It's a suspension testing area. So, you have all these bumps, all these ups and downs, and you can see that transfer to the wheel big time. It is going, pretty violently and hard up and down, all over the place. But if you notice the body, right, the chassis, the person inside, it's almost like they're just floating across it. I don't see barely any, if at any at all, energy transfer from the suspension and wheels up into the body of the car, which is what you want, right? You want it to ride smooth. That's what they're aiming for with these, and they freaking did it.
Impacts should be transmitted.
I mean, look at that. You don't see the actual body of the car going all over the place. That is super impressive and cool to see.
To the car.
I mean, there are cars that don't ride well, whether it be they're tuned for the track, it's more of a sporty type car, so you sacrifice ride quality for good handling, right? It rides really, tough and stiff, but hey, it handles well. Or you have some cars that are just cheap, right? They're built cheaply, they just don't really handle well, and they don't really ride good. Then you have cars that are a little more luxurious. You have cars that handle decent, but in reality, they're made for nice ride, right? So they ride really nice. Then you have Citroën. I feel like even the craziest luxury cars that are tuned for a soft ride don't quite have this. I don't know. It's like they don't have the science behind it like these Citroens did. And these things are decades old. That's what's mind-blowing about it. Look at even the DS there, just, again, floating right over that, that bumpy road. This would be so fun, wouldn't it, to do, product development, research testing for vehicles in different, performance tests like this. I think that would be so fun. Okay, now we're on another suspension test, and we're going to show competitors, I think, in this one. So there's a Mercedes. Looked like it rode pretty good. Okay, the Audi. Ooh, not as good. Look how much bounce is going on. And listen to what I said earlier. Remember? The suspension was doing the work in that old Citroën 2CV, and the body wasn't moving at all. It was totally stable. Look at that Audi now. You take it to an extreme suspension test. That thing was like whoop, whoop, all over the place. The wheels, the suspension, and the body were all just kind of like waving around. And yeah, it's not technically a great ride in this test, right? Look at the Fiat, same deal. Oh my God. The Fiat is straight up jumping. And look at that. Now, this is extreme, like, wavy road, right? That's really weird and wavy, and it makes a car act weird, as we just saw those first three entrants. The Mercedes did all right. The other two were pretty bad. But now look at the Citroën. I got to admit, look at the very minimal. The body's just a little bit up and down, just a bit. Very slow, very smooth. You can see that the wheels and suspension are doing all the work. And it's just amazing how it does not transfer into the actual cabin you're sitting in, right? It's very cool to see. There's what is that, the slalom test? No. I can't remember the name of this test. So slalom test is where you go weave in and out of the barriers. This is... Oh, I know there's a name for this, where you come in at speed and then whip it over and counter steer, and within the cones, which that Audi did not do. Oh, wow. Wow. That barely, okay, that Citroën did so well. The other cars kind of shot way out, right? Whereas that Citroën recovered immediately. It didn't even come near the cones. Oh, my goodness. That's amazing. So, see, it even handles well. Look at that. Wow. Oh, my God. Ooh, braking test. Mercedes slid out. That's a big car. Same with the Audi. Slid completely out. Uh-oh. I don't know what that is. A Fiat or something? Something else? And look at that. Wow. Bravo. Okay, Citroën. Dang, look at that. I love that camera view. You see the sidewalls of the tire folding in. That's so fascinating. And then look at this thing. Look at that. That's not easy. You can take, not a big truck. No, you can take your Citroën sedan off-roading if you needed to. It'll get you places. And you can take it a step further. You can take it to the track. Look. That's what's crazy about those cars is I never knew about these my whole life. I think it's so fascinating. After 30 years learning about these, I really missed out on these for a long time. And I mean, I really did miss out because we just don't see them. You never see them here in the U.S. At least I haven't. And I know they're here in very limited numbers. You just don't see the old ones very often. I definitely will have my eye out, now for them, of course. But the fact that these things rode extremely well in just regular day-to-day driving. This thing wasn't built to be a race car, right? It wasn't built to be a straight-up off-roader, but the fact that it can do, it can go in terrain, it can basically off-road, it can ride really well on the street, and it can actually handle. Like, it could go on a racing circuit and not make a fool of itself. This thing will really handle as good as almost anything out there. It does so in a different way. It's very unique. And again, you might not set lap records in this car, but this thing can go on a track as well as it can take you around your village or your city and not feel bumps at all. Like, it's just such a versatile car. It's just fascinating. I never know what words to use because it's just a wild car, and a lot of their cars from this era, it looks like almost all the ones. It wasn't just a 2CV or just a DS. They put this kind of engineering into all their vehicles. And man, I tell you what, they do have some polarizing looks. Some of them are beautiful. I think the DS truly is beautiful, whereas like the 2CV, I wouldn't say is a beautiful car. But it's not ugly. It's just quirky. It's kind of strange and odd, but likable, right? So I really like the 2CV as well. Now, I don't know which model this is. To be quite frank with you, even though I'm very fascinated by a brand, I don't think this one is nearly as good looking, say, as like the DS, right? Now, this car looks okay from the front. The side profile is a little bizarre, and I usually like strange cars. I like cars that push the envelope. But yeah, this one isn't my favorite, I'll admit. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter if it's not the best looking car. I'm still fascinated by it because the way it's hugging the road right here, right? It's just so... they're just interesting cars. They just really are. I love how they were so daring to be different. Like, there's cars and then there's Citroens. That's what I'm getting at. That's what I've heard from so many comments, and that's what I'm forming in my head, my own opinion. It's like, these things were just kind of in a league of their own. They're different. They're like a different experience than most cars. Look at this rugged track. I mean, we have water. We have like this rocky, crazy, like, horrible road, right? It's just like a million potholes with water in them. And again, look at how it's taking this like a champ. The body was barely moving at all. That's insane. And look at this jumpy turns. That's a really dangerous scenario, right? Took it like a champ. Look, that was really awesome. I love old videos, and seeing these old suspension clips of these things, I think proved how fascinating and how dialed in they really had that suspension. I'm sure there were other great cars and great suspensions of the time as well, you could argue, but at least the cars featured there, you know, that Mercedes, the Audi, the Fiat, and then, of course, the Citroën. It definitely looked like it was leagues ahead of those cars, at least in that demonstration. I would love to hear your input, your insight on this, and how... You know, what do you think of this? How accurate of a representation is this? I think it speaks for itself. I'm just enjoying the Citroën series, and we're just getting started. There's so much to learn, and I appreciate all of your guys' stories, your facts, your statistics, your video suggestions. It's been really, really awesome. I'm loving these videos. So click the link down there and you can watch this whole thing and check out their channel. That was really cool to see. Throw a like on there if you did enjoy this. I certainly hope you did. Subscribe to be part of this amazing community we do have here. And that's about it for this one, guys. My name is Ian. You're watching IWrocker, and until next time, y'all, catch you later.